Hello, I'm Austin, and today I will be discussing Francesco Petrarch, one of the earliest humanists who had a heavy influence in the blooming philosophies in the early Renaissance era, roughly 1400 to 1495. Let's get started. Petrarch's Poetic Necessity. Petrarch's journey was riddled with poems and texts that not only altered the developing philosophy in its time, but also enriched the readers with literature that invoked a feeling of its own. Petrarch riddled away on both the acts of man with the outcomes that would follow, mostly dark writings, and lots of poems concerning sexuality and the pursuit of pleasure. One of his writings, unrelated to the example I just said, one of his writings, Sonnet 131, ended with, "All this I do because I do not mind my discontentment in this one short life, but glory rather in my later fame." In other poems and other writings of his depiction of females would be as a prize almost too valuable to be around, while other times too invoking to the instincts of our primal instincts. Petrarch had developed a deep understanding concerning the controversies and flaws in man's character, and he even had a greater method to write against the people who he saw cause the aches and pains around him. The understanding that he had allowed his texts and writings to influence the movements of politics in his age and gave him the title Father of Humanism. Writing to the monks he was visiting while evading the worldly pleasures, he wrote to these monks, who he called brothers, saying, "The eternal bliss of an immortal wedding is promised to you who serve God. Serve him eagerly." He grazed a large and foreign flock among the thickets of humanity. You graze your sheep, that is, each person grazes his own soul in the happy, abundant pastures of Jesus Christ. Serve him free from care. You do not have a deceitful master, such as Laban, whom Jacob endured, who envies your goods and your profits, but one who may be delighted by your profits and your progress, one who aids you in your need and sustains you in your weakness. You can understand the expertise he achieved in thinking with how his writings give an understanding that most will get almost immediately. This brings us to Petrarch's literary adaptation. With his writings reaching into many influential philosophers like Itinerarium, Petrarch's Guide to the Holy Land, which described his blame on individuals like the doctors, Scholastic, and the French. Like I said, he wrote against people he saw who caused these things. These people were unfortunately on that list. He described his blame on the individuals like the doctors, the scholastics, and the French. Unfortunately, I can't explain what the blame was or any of the other details beside the speculations that I've read, because I can't find any of these works being available. May just be me, but let's continue. Petrarch's work would be discussed for 200 years after he died. It's still talked about today by scholars because they do depict him as the father of the Renaissance, since it's speculated and seen and assumed that it was his writings that sparked, as it seems, the flames that initiated the Renaissance. And some will still argue that he is the father of the Renaissance. His writings had emotion and thought-provoking descriptions of the world around him, or just the fair Lady Laura, which was a long book of sonnets and poems. In his Rerum Vulgarium fragment, also known as Petrarch's Songbook, he wrote this little snippet here. "Now covered in a shower of love's blooms, a flower falling on her lap, some fell on her blonde curls, like pearls set into gold. They seemed to me that day, some fell to rest on ground, some on the water, and some in love like wandering. we're circling down and saying, here, love reigns. That was a fragment of what was in the songbook. The songbook it's written to Lady Laura, and it's speculated that this Lady Laura was married to a Count Hughes D. Sade. So kind of ballsy, right? That our patriarch would be writing a giant love book to a count's wife. So that brings us to sexual instinct. Not what you think. The imagination and the yield of pleasure. Patriarch talked about the futility of pleasure and how one could not experience the gratitude of these pleasures, like the real gratitude of any of those pleasures, without first having the absence of them. Meaning, be without all of this, and then when you have that, you would experience even greater pleasure. The involvement with another without first to experience the lack of company would, in his explanations, not give the same excitement as to one who has lived through both. To make this example even more of truth, experts believe that Patriarch practiced abstinence and focused solely on his writings. If this were true, I would have it believe he was living in a twisted mindset of desire. To be writing of sexual gratification and how one could not experience the true gratification without first not having it, and then to write countless of love poems dedicated to a married woman. Rather sus to me if his philosophies were true and yet he didn't follow his own written advice. That brings us to the eyes of true nature. Love at first sight. I'm going to start with Sonnet 101. It says, ways apt and new to sing of love I'd find, facing from her hard heart full many a sigh, and rekindle in her frozen mind desires 1,000 passionate and high. Oh, her face would see each swift change pass, see her fond eyes at length where pity reigns, as one who sorrows when too late, alas. That was Sonnet 101. With a play on words, both descriptive and relatable. Patriarch's sonnets are explored by scholars today. How he made this a popular form of writing creatively just on his own baffles creators still today. Influencing his time and still lengthening what we can learn about a poet who compares the Christian and pagan societies alike, gives appeal to the historians and writers of our time. Patriarch had a true sense of clarity, it speculated, to the people around him and what made them act as they did. He was compared to the greats, like Aristotle, Shakespeare, and Cicero. Then we have Sonnet 102. If no love is, O God, what feel I so? And if love is, what thing and which is he? If love be good, from whence cometh my woo? With a far reach from both the pagan world and the depth that he took to study Christianity, searching for a way for man to step closer to God and further from the world, Patriarch's wisdom is highlighted in his personal letters. His sonnets spoke of love, the uneasiness in misunderstanding your values, and reached even as far as believing in the world after this one. Leaving so much for your imagination to take, added, with literature to describe his attitude that he wanted you to hear, Patriarch's writings have placed them on a height of their own. His personal letters, however, were left unnamed, probably because of maybe them getting in trouble and stuff in that time, but they are written. They're just unnamed. the following excerpt is believed to be addressed to monks or an authoritative body at the time. This is O Tium, O great philosophers and hard-working men, whose natural intelligence overwhelms us. Look at how we have overtaken you in grace and free blessings. You have labored, but look at how we now rest. You have planted, but look at how we now harvest. You have sought, but look at how we now find. It is neither your fault nor our merit, but only the favor of God which has done this. Oh, deep. This brings us to our discussion questions. The first one is, why do you think patriarch's poetry plays such a big part in philosophy, even still to this day? Why do we keep bringing up this guy's work? Why do we keep bringing it back to this? Why do we keep evaluating these things? What purpose or description or explanation are the scholars and the bright minds of our current time? Why do they keep going in with this? What purpose are they trying to pull from his writings still, even today? Leave it in the comments below. How does his look on man's primal instincts relate to the current age in our society and culture? Like, how do you think Patriarch would be writing about? Well, how do you think? Do you think he'd be doing slam poetry? Right? He'd be bombing all the current culture that we have going on. With all the works that I've gone over and the explanations and even the art that you've seen, what has kept your attention in regards to the works and the things discussed in this presentation? Leave it in the comments below. Tell me what you think. Bye-bye now.